Part 3. A Growing Nation. 1800 to 1850. In this period, the country grows quickly, and almost every step forward deepens the argument over slavery. Here are the events. Event 1. Marbury versus Madison. 1803. In this Supreme Court case, the court gained the power of judicial review. That means the power to cancel a law that breaks the Constitution. This made the courts a true equal to Congress and the President, and it's one of the most tested cases on the exam. Here's a question. What is judicial review, and which case created it? Answer out loud now. Here's the answer. Judicial review is the power of the Supreme Court to strike down a law that violates the Constitution, and it came from Marbury versus Madison. The same year brought a giant leap in the country's size. Our next event. Event 2. The Louisiana Purchase. 1803. President Jefferson bought a huge piece of land from France for $15 million. It doubled the size of the country, and Lewis and Clark explored it. But it created a hard question that would not go away. Would slavery be allowed in the new land? Keep that question in mind because it connects to almost everything in this period. Event 3. The War of 1812. 1812 to 1815. The United States fought Britain again, partly over trade and sailors. The war ended in a draw, but it boosted American pride and gave the country its national anthem. As the nation grew, the Supreme Court kept making the national government stronger. Our next event. Event 4. McCulloch versus Maryland. 1819. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that the national government had the power to create a national bank, even though the Constitution doesn't list that exact power, and that a state could not tax the federal government. This established two big ideas: implied powers, meaning the government can do things that are necessary and proper to carry out its duties, and federal supremacy, meaning national law is above state law. So Marbury made the courts powerful, and McCulloch made the national government powerful. Then the slavery question forced its first big national deal. Our next event. Event 5. The Missouri Compromise. 1820. As new states joined, the country tried to keep an even balance between free states and slave states. The Missouri Compromise let Missouri enter as a slave state and Maine as a free state, keeping the balance, and it drew a line across the map. North of that line, slavery would be banned. It calmed things down for a while, but it was only a patch. The same fight would return again and again, getting worse each time. As the nation grew more confident, it took a bold stand in world affairs. Our next event. Event 6. The Monroe Doctrine. 1823. President Monroe warned European nations not to start new colonies or interfere in North and South America. In short, Europe hands off the Americas. It guided American foreign policy for over a century. At home, a new waterway transformed the economy. Our next event. Event 7. The Erie Canal. 1825. New York built the Erie Canal, a man-made waterway connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes. Goods could now move cheaply between the farms of the West and the cities of the East. It turned New York City into the nation's busiest port and showed how new transportation could power economic growth, setting the stage for the industrial boom to come. But growth came at a terrible cost to others, which is the next event. Event 8. The Trail of Tears. The 1830s. The government forced Native American tribes off their homelands and made them move west. The Cherokee even won their case at the Supreme Court in Worcester versus Georgia, which said the removal was illegal. But President Jackson ignored the court and removed them anyway. Thousands died on the journey from cold, hunger, and disease. This shows a hard truth. Westward expansion often meant opportunity for white settlers, but suffering and loss for Native Americans. The push west continued under a powerful belief. Our next event. Event 9. Manifest Destiny. The 1840s. Manifest destiny was the belief that the United States was meant to expand all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It pushed settlers west and led to a war with Mexico that added huge new lands in the Southwest and California. But once again, each new territory reopened the fierce question of whether slavery would be allowed. So expansion kept making the North-South conflict worse. At the same time, Americans began organizing to fix injustices, our final event in this period. Event 10. Reform movements and Seneca Falls. 1848. Reformers worked to improve society. Abolitionists like Frederick Douglass fought to end slavery. And at the Seneca Falls Convention, leaders like Elizabeth Cady Stanton launched the women's rights movement, demanding the right to vote. These reformers used the Declaration's idea that all are created equal to argue for groups that had been left out. Quick recap of Part 3. Marbury gave the courts judicial review and McCulloch strengthened the national government. The Louisiana Purchase, the Erie Canal, and Manifest Destiny expanded the country and its economy, but kept reopening the slavery question, which the Missouri Compromise only patched over. The Trail of Tears showed expansion's cruel cost, and reform movements began the long fight for equality.